Ready for some calls?
Yes.
Cindy in Peoria, Illinois. Get us started, Cindy. Go ahead.
Hi, George. I love it when you have him on. I think you should have him on every month. I really
He almost is.
I listen to him all the time. I just love him. About 3 weeks ago, I was listening to Fox News, which I'm getting to the point I just turn them off. They make me sick. But across the ticker tape that was going across the very bottom of the screen, I read, and it said, any bank, the government's going to push this, that any bank in the United States that has over $250 billion in assets has to maintain enough money in that bank to carry them for an entire month. Now, is this going back to the Depression when the banks closed, or what is this deal? Why are they doing this?
They are preparing for exactly that scenario. They know the banks are all in trouble. They know the banks have taken trillions of dollars overseas to tax havens. They don't pay any income tax, and they're not taking that money, their capitalization, they're not bringing that money home in what would be referred to as liquidity to reloan into the domestic economy. So that means every one of the banks out there, the largest banks are the most vulnerable. All the banks are vulnerable to a run on the banks when the American people finally wake up. If they do, the banks will be in trouble.
Next up, we go to Beverly in Dayton, Ohio. Bev, welcome to the program. You're up with us. Go ahead, Beverly.
Hi, George. You and your guests there are both very wise men, and several of the people that have just recently called have made several of the points that I was going to make, but I think I have the final piece of the puzzle. If you can remember, several months ago, it was mentioned that FEMA had been gathering up body bags.
Yes.
And also, curfew signs. Well, we've seen some of that situations happening here in Dayton, too. And the final piece of the puzzle is in the book of Revelations, chapter 13, verse 17, where no man should be able to buy or sell unless they have the mark on their forehead or their hand.
The good old sign of the beast.
Right. Now, how is your neighbor, your coworker, the person at the grocery store, the child in the school going to be singled out as having this supposed, Ebola shot, and the other person next to them not have it? I believe that the mark is going to be put on the people who are going to get this shot.
Or who don't get it, or who don't, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, and one or the other, exactly. And I think this is our government's final move, because if you don't have the mark showing that your neighbor or your coworker or whoever you're with has this mark, you'll be afraid to go near them. Even your own family will turn against you. You won't be able to go to the grocery store. You won't be able to sit in the movie theater. You won't be able to do anything, get gas or anything. Nobody will want to be near you because they don't know if you have the disease or not.
Bev, you could be spot on that. We're going to come back with Craig Hewlett and take final calls. Craig, it's almost as if I always like saying that, by the way, they, whoever they may be, they're pulling out all the stops right now. It's almost as if they think they've run out of time.
Well, I don't think we really have to look to the book of Revelations to find our answer, to be honest with you. I'm sorry I have to say that, but I think there are ways of understanding what's going to take place here in America. In a speech in Stockholm, Sweden, Vice Chairman of the Federal Reserve and former governor of the Bank of Israel, and also he was a former chief economist at the World Bank, Stanley Fischer. He said, and I quote, "The United States is preparing a proposal to require systemically important banks to issue bail-inable, I didn't know that was a word, bail-inable long-term debt. Will it enable insolvent banks to recapitalize themselves in resolution without calling on government funding. This cushion is known as a gone concern buffer." Later on, I dug up what gone concern buffer means, and basically it's the same terminology as financial repression. That bail-inable long-term debt means that they are going to issue the debt within the bank, and they will take your money to pay for the insolvency of the bank. Now, they know they're going to do this, or they wouldn't be prepared.
They wouldn't be prepared for it. That's right.
Okay, this isn't a simple ipso facto. is just simple critical thinking and plain old research and analysis. Now, when they do this, and they start doing this to the American people, and I'm so sorry I have to say this. Many of your listeners, Carl Nelson's listeners, Mills Crenshaw's listeners, talk show hosts like yourselves that have taken a considerable effort to inform your audience of things that matter, are going to be aware of some of this. But I would put it at 80% of the American people are completely ignorant of any of what I'm talking about in any way, shape, or form.
Totally in the dark.
So when these things start happening and their money is seized and they're forced to stand in food lines and they are told you no longer have a pension. And let me tell you how quick it can happen. This is a true story. Somebody that's a personal relationship of mine. He was a founding member of the Microsoft team. He was with Microsoft for 17 years, 11 months and 27 days, I think it was. They fired him just in the nick of time, so he'll never receive his pension. He just got married, had a new baby, bought a new house. This is the way the world really works. Now, when these kinds of things start happening to a large swath of the ignorant America, what do you think they're going to react like?
They will be ticked.
They will be in the streets just like they were when it was done to Cyprus, just like it happened in Egypt. And the United States government, I'm telling you, this is not mythical. The Pentagon already has the legal authority as of 2 years ago that the area commander, listen very carefully, the area commander within any region of the United States, near a municipality, a military base, or a rural countryside, the area commander of the nearest military base has the right to move in and take over without the governor's approval or the deputies or the sheriff's department. They can move in and take over and call martial law and quell any civil disturbance if that area commander determines that the state, the governor, or the sheriff cannot handle the civil disturbance. So in other words, posse comitatus is gone. Your right to a judge, habeas corpus, is gone under national defense authorization. All of these things, the militarization, Homeland Security's ammo purchases, MRAPs, the militarization of local law enforcement. Why do you think this is happening? If they don't know,
Of course they know.
that one day they're going to take your money, your pension, your future away from you so they can continue their global domination in the name of American hegemony.
Mark in Seattle, Washington, it's your turn. Mark, go ahead.
It's a pure pleasure to talk to you tonight, George. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you, Mark.
Actually, I wanted to say to Greg, I didn't know if he knew or not, but the American Mint, over the past 26 years, they average about, in October, about the sale of, I think it's the 944,000 Silver Eagles. And on the first day of the month, they shattered that by selling a record 1.5 million. And if I hate anything like he does, it's the fiat currency, because I agree with him, too, that the whole world is drunk on that. And like you said before, if people were going to rise up, they've got it already in plan to where nobody can rise up because they'll squash them right away. So that's all I have to say. Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Well, you're right. The silver's going through the roof right now, isn't it?
That's true. And I'm not going to criticize people that sell silver, buy silver, and warn people to buy silver as a hedge against inflation. But let's be clear, okay? I don't think you want to do business on the black market under those kind of conditions with your silver coins if you've run out of food and water and medicine for your children. I think you're living in a very illusory world if you think you can deal with the people who deal in the black market, because they are today criminals and tomorrow they will be the same criminals. So unless you Rambo, I don't know how you're going to be spending your gold and silver when things go to hell in a handbasket.
You got to be careful. Tom in Riverside West. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I'm glad to talk to you all. You got a nice program this evening.
Thanks, sir.
Regardless of every individual thing, you've got to organize. You've got to stand shoulder to shoulder with your neighbor. Each individual can make a difference, and every person should try. And that's what we've got to do in this country. God will figure out what he's going to do. We don't have to worry about God, but we need to do what we need to do. And the NRA has made a very strong effort to defend our Second Amendment, and other people like Joan Beyond and others, you all have made a tremendous effort to awaken us, and we've been slapped in the face by 9/11. And regardless of what the odds are, I mean, the drones that they're putting in here is ridiculous. But again, you can't control. This is not our government anymore. We're probably one of our best hopes is Russia. But Putin has a head on his shoulder, and he's just like we are. You know, he's trying to defend against his government that was broke down by our government that was used to break his government down, because they had to break America and they had to break Russia before they could do what they're doing right now.
Well, let's get Craig's reaction to this. And Craig, I never thought I'd see the day where so many people would think that Vladimir Putin was a hero.
Well, I don't know if he's a hero. I know what he is as a Russian. And, long early days in my work, going back 37 years, there's no question I was heavily involved in research and analysis against the Soviet Union and looking at what they were capable of in places like Afghanistan. I was a writer and a friend of Soldier Fortune magazine editor and publisher Bob Brown. I wrote articles for him. Look, this that is taking place, this guy is correct at one point, clearly. This is no longer our government. It's someone else's government. It's someone else's ruling. It's someone else's deciding what to do with us, with our country, with our resources, with our military. And he's right. God will take care of God, okay? You need to take care of yourselves. But I want to introduce something to your audience you may be totally unaware of. I do a show every month in Washington, D.C. It's an all-black station. It's syndicated on dozens of stations nationwide. His name is Carl Nelson. That station is almost 100% black listening audience. They sound exactly like your callers and the callers in Utah with Mills Crenshaw. The black community knows exactly what Obama is and what he's doing to the country. They're as afraid of him. They know the destruction. They discuss with me when I do his show about the NRA and gun ownership. They want to stand shoulder to shoulder with good Americans, white, black, Hispanic. They don't even care. I don't care if you're illegal alien. If you're a good man and you want to live free and you want to live in America and make America and the U.S. Constitution what it was originally, I'll stand with any man. I don't care if he comes from Guadalajara. We need to take the country back and restore the Constitution. And if you think you can do it with just your peculiar set of friends against the United States government, you're wrong.
But I think in the long run, Craig, that we're going to win.
You know why? I was told once when I discussed exactly this, a leftist was in the audience. I'll say his name, Dennis Bernstein. He was listening to the show, and he interrupted the interview, and he said, the United States can't rise up against our own government. Our government's got cruise missiles and F-16s, for heaven's sakes. You know what I say to him? Afghanistan.
Look what happened there.
Don't tell me you can't fight against this powerful American machine. So get off your butt and stand up and be an American and quit being so damned afraid.